Thanks for joining me again as we look back at another great classic film. This is an Australian film that had a rough beginning, upsetting early audiences and the censors, only to later be rediscovered and reappraised as an Australian classic. Co-written by an award-winning novelist and an award-winning director, it is the best and perhaps the only example of a feature-length surrealist Australian film. Shot in spectacular colour, it stars a number of recognisable and talented Australian actors. It is Bliss from 1985. Director Ray Lawrence and writer Peter Carey were both working in advertising when they met at a party, became friends and wrote two screenplays together, Dancing on Water, based on Carey's short story Life and Death in the South Sea Pavilion, and Spanish Pink. They approached producer Philip Adams, who passed on the project before Anthony Buckley supported them, and tried unsuccessfully to raise the money required to produce both scripts. When Carey's first novel Bliss won the Miles Franklin Award, Buckley suggested they adapt that instead. Lawrence and Carey had both worked extensively in advertising, and being able to tell a story showcasing the perversions of that world was likely both therapeutic and enjoyable for them, and was to be equally enjoyable for audiences. In October of 1983, Lawrence shot a 35mm screen test with Barry Otto and Linette Curran, which helped convince investors to support the film. Barry Otto, cast as Harry Joy, is a veteran of the Australian stage and screen, often seen in supporting roles and most notably in Strictly Ballroom, Cosy, Oscar and Lucinda, and The Great Gatsby. Linette Curran, cast as Bettina Joy, is another veteran of film and television, also appearing mostly in supporting roles in over 20 films, most notably Caddy, Heatwave, The Year My Voice Broke, and The Boys. In addition to Otto and Curran, Helen Jones, who was known mainly for her work in television, was cast as Honey Barbara. Miles Buchanan, also best remembered for his many TV appearances, was cast as son David Joy, and Gia Carides was cast as daughter Lucy Joy. Gia has appeared in many films, most memorably in Phar Lap and Strictly Ballroom, on TV shows like Twin Peaks and ER, and was most forgettably in The Three Big Fat Greek Weddings. Shooting took place in October of 1984 following 2 weeks of rehearsal and went for 11 weeks. Although the film was set in Queensland, it was shot in New South Wales. Early responses to Bliss were mixed. When it screened at Cannes, 400 people walked out, but it subsequently won the Palme d'Or. The reaction convinced Lawrence to re-edit, reducing the film's running time by 25 minutes. Its initial Australian release was delayed after it was originally classified as R18+, and no Australian distributor would handle it. Buckley decided to distribute the film himself, and was able to get the film reclassified on appeal. The film opened at the State Theatre in Sydney, a tiny former newsreel theatrette with only 130 seats. Positive reviews and word of mouth helped to find an audience, and it became a cult hit, winning 3 AFI awards for Best Picture, Best Direction and Best Adapted Screenplay, as well as earning 10 other nominations. It continued playing in cinemas for 6 months. When it was shown on Australia's ABC TV, it created huge controversy, and it became the most criticised event ever on the ABC. There was much to potentially take offence to, including David dealing drugs to his sister in return for sexual favours, the on-screen portrayal of Bettina's sexual indiscretions, and the moral bankruptcy of Harry, his advertising clients and their product, an artificial sweetener that causes cancer. I saw it at the cinema with my parents at the time of its release, and I vividly recall how appalled my mother was with some of the scenes. The film is especially interesting for its surrealist elements, which include fish dropping from Bettina's vagina as she lies about an affair, Harry's heart attack and out-of-body experience that thrusts him into a hell which looks identical to his life on Earth, and the opening sequence where Harry's mother stands in the rain like a religious figure in a small boat outside a flooded church. It grossed $1.2 million in Australia, $660,000 in the US, and was the most successful Australian picture of 1985. This is a film that works on its own terms, but is more admirable for the way it retains the quirkiness of the novel. The underlying message is that the values in our consumerist society are pathological, and our only chance is to find sanctuary in nature. The message delivered with humour rather than anger. Bliss has developed a significantly higher critical reputation, with film critic and Sydney Film Festival director Paul Burns describing it as a key film in the story of Australian movies, representing a kind of liberation point, a leap away from naturalism and the historical realism of the Australian New Wave towards the modernism of the 1990s. To say it was ahead of its time is an understatement. The boldness of its metaphors and the sharpness of its satire were too much for many people in 1985. Despite the film's eventual success, Ray Lawrence did not direct another film until Lantana in 2001, which he followed up with Jindabyne in 2006. Lots of reasons to watch this film. It's a clever satire that contains social critiques as relevant now as they were almost 40 years ago. It's fascinating to watch and will make you laugh as much as its humour as in disbelief at what you're seeing on the screen. So what I suggest you do is that you go to our website, find our virtual screenings page, find the link to this particular film, do click on it and watch it. Be very interested for you to come back, let us know your thoughts about the film and whether you'd recommend it for others as well. And then we're back in the not too distant future for our next classic films review. Catch you next time.